Hi, and welcome to 3 Things in 3 Minutes. I'm Nersi. Today we are looking at Wingspan from Stonemaier Games. It plays 1 to 5 players with a solo Automa rule set and plays in 40 to 70 minutes. And as a disclosure, I wrote the included quick reference guide in the game. What it's about: this is an engine and tableau building game. Each player is a bird enthusiast trying to attract North American birds to their preserves, which is a player mat with 3 habitats. On your turn, you take an action to draw cards, collect food from the food dice, lay eggs on your existing birds, and then expend the food and the eggs to attract new birds to your mat. Then, after your actions, you may trigger the so-called bonus brown powers on the birds in the corresponding habitat, and this is the core of the engine building of the game. You get resources to obtain birds, and then trigger the powers on those birds to find new ways to gain points. You also score points for random goals at the end of each round, and the player with the most points at the end of 4 rounds wins. Things I like: it's hard to look at this game and not be struck by the beauty of it. The individual art on the cards, which each represent one of 170 unique species, look worthy of an ornithology reference text. Each bird also has a factoid that often thematically ties into its abilities. The other components, from the chunky wooden dice to the adorable bird feeder dice tower to the card tray, and even the quality of the paper stock, shows a lot of attention went to the design of the components. And while you can get into some interesting chaining of abilities once you get the game engine going, the game is easy to explain, with essentially only 4 actions you can take, and especially with simple turns at the beginning of the game, it's easy to bring everyone up to speed. But the game does get more complex later, as you have more birds and thus more brown powers to trigger, but the game smartly makes each round shorter by 1 action. Not only does that help keep the round lengths manageable, but it also forces you to make some tough decisions later in the game. Points to consider: even though the later rounds are shorter, each individual turn does get slowed down, as each player is likely to have several bird powers to trigger and resolve. Now early on, it'll seem like the game will play much faster than it actually ends up doing. And this is also in part because the turns early in the game aren't as interesting as the later ones. You'll spend a lot of time just trying to build up your engine in the first few turns, so you'll need to hang in there before the engine shines, which it does in mid-game. In your final few turns, however, as is common with engine building games, you'll be focused primarily on maximizing your points. Now, given that there are some reliable ways to gain points, especially laying eggs, which are worth a point apiece, you might find that your actions become more prescribed at the beginning and at the end of the game as compared to the middle, and this is especially true because a lot of the bird powers, especially the predator ones, rely on luck, getting a certain roll or drawing a card and hoping that the bird you draw is smaller than a certain size. So, in summary, it is a gorgeous game with some beautiful thematic art and components. It's easy to explain, but has some interesting engine building choices, especially in the mid-game. And while the early and late game have fewer exciting choices, the game does scale in round length to make up for it. Thanks so much for watching. Please make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel.